There are moments in life when you pause, look at the world around you, and feel the pressure of modern chaos pressing against your spirit. Everything moves fast, too fast. Expectations rise, stress builds, choices pile up. And in those moments, a quiet realization emerges: the answers we seek today often lie in the timeless principles that shaped humanity long before us. There is a kind of wisdom that survives centuries, a clarity that remains untouched by trends and untouched by time itself. Today, we uncover that wisdom principles that have never failed and never will, because human nature hasn't changed, and neither have the truths that guide a powerful, meaningful life. When you study the patterns of every successful, resilient, and grounded person in history, you will discover something remarkable. They didn't rely on luck or shortcuts. They relied on principles. They lived by values that created strength during storms, focus during uncertainty, and calm during chaos. And the first of these timeless principles is responsibility. The moment you accept that your life is shaped not by circumstances but by your choices, everything changes. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You stop blaming people who cannot heal you. You stop expecting the world to hand you what you haven't built. Responsibility transforms you from a passenger into the driver of your own destiny. Another enduring principle is patience. Not the passive kind, but the strategic kind. The patience that knows great things take time. The patience that understands that anything built too fast collapses just as quickly. Every seed requires seasons. Every dream demands dedication. And every meaningful achievement comes from consistent, steady progress, not overnight miracles. When you learn to honor timing instead of fighting it, life stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like a journey. Then comes discipline, the quiet force that separates intention from achievement. Discipline is ancient. It is the root of mastery, growth, and transformation. People often look at successful lives and focus on the outcomes, but discipline is the hidden architecture behind every victory. It is waking up when you don't feel like it, staying committed when motivation fades, choosing long-term gain over short-term comfort. Discipline doesn't restrict you, discipline frees you. It frees you from regret, from waste, from chaos, from self-sabotage. But timeless wisdom doesn't only focus on strength, it also teaches balance. Too much ambition without rest leads to burnout. Too much rest without direction leads to stagnation. Life becomes meaningful when you learn the art of balance, between work and health, between progress and peace, between striving and appreciating. Modern life is full of noise, but balance brings clarity. It returns you to yourself. Another principle that has shaped strong lives for centuries is gratitude. Gratitude grounds you. It transforms ordinary moments into blessings, and challenges into lessons. It shifts your focus from what is missing to what is already working. Gratitude turns scarcity into abundance, and fear into hope. In a world obsessed with more, gratitude reminds you of what truly matters. And finally, ancient wisdom teaches us the power of resilience, the unbreakable spirit that rises each time it falls. Resilience doesn't make you immune to pain. It simply refuses to let pain define you. It's the strength that whispers, "This storm will not last, and even if it tries, I will outlast it." Resilience is not learned in comfort, it is built in seasons of struggle. But once you develop it, life no longer feels frightening. It becomes conquerable. These principles have survived centuries because they are truth, pure, universal, unchanging truth. Responsibility, patience, discipline, balance, gratitude, resilience. They are the foundation of every strong life, every peaceful heart, and every unstoppable human being. And now, as we close this journey, remember this: you do not need to reinvent life to succeed. You need only to align with the principles that have guided humanity since the beginning. You already have everything within you: the strength to rise, the wisdom to choose, and the power to transform your future. Modern life may be loud, but timeless wisdom always whispers the way. And if you follow it, you will never walk blindly again. You will walk with purpose, with clarity, and with confidence toward the life you were always meant to live. Chapter 1: Responsibility creates personal power. Life begins to change the moment you take ownership of it. When you stop waiting for circumstances to improve, and instead start improving your decisions, you unlock a level of personal freedom that few ever experience. Responsibility is not a burden, it is the bridge between who you are and who you can become. It is the first step towards strength, clarity, and transformation. Responsibility is the moment a person stops living life as a reaction and begins shaping it with intention. It is one of the oldest principles known to human progress, yet it remains one of the most misunderstood. Many people fear responsibility because they think it means carrying a heavier load, but the truth is the opposite. Responsibility lightens your life by giving you control over it. When you take responsibility for your mindset, your habits, your time, and your choices, you immediately rise above the chaos that holds most people back. You stop allowing circumstances to dictate your direction. You stop waiting for someone to change your situation. You stop believing that life happens to you and begin realizing that life responds to you. This shift in perspective is one of the most powerful changes a human being can experience, because once you acknowledge that you have the power to choose, you automatically gain the power to change. People who embrace responsibility don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it. They understand that growth begins when excuses end. Every excuse, no matter how small, steals a piece of your potential. Every time you tell yourself that you can't start, can't try, or can't improve, you quietly hand your power to something outside yourself. But when you take responsibility, you reclaim everything that excuses tried to take from you. You reclaim your strength. You reclaim your direction. You reclaim the ability to rise. This is why responsibility is not a limitation but a liberation. It frees you from being controlled by what you cannot change and empowers you to transform what you can. Responsibility also changes the way you interpret challenges. Instead of seeing difficulties as punishments, you begin seeing them as invitations to grow. You realize that setbacks are not signs of weakness but reminders that you are still evolving. When you take responsibility, you stop complaining about problems and start learning from them. You ask better questions. What can I do differently? What lesson is this moment teaching me? How can I move forward stronger than before? This mindset alone places you ahead of most people, because while others are drowning in frustration, you are rising through clarity. You are turning adversity into advantage simply by owning your response to it. Taking responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything. It means recognizing that you have influence over your life, even when you do not have control over the world. You cannot choose every event, but you can choose your reaction. You cannot choose who hurts you, but you can choose how you heal. You cannot choose every outcome, but you can choose the effort you invest. This level of ownership gives you stability. It gives you confidence. It gives you direction in a world where most people feel lost. And the more responsibility you take, the more capable you become. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to depend on your ability to grow. You begin to understand that improvement is always possible when initiative is present. There is a quiet confidence in responsible people that others instinctively notice. They walk differently. They speak differently. They move through life with a sense of purpose, because they know they are not waiting for life to happen, they are shaping it. They don't chase approval, because responsibility has taught them to validate themselves. They don't fear challenges, because responsibility has shown them that every challenge carries a solution. And they don't cling to the past, because responsibility directs their focus toward the future. This internal stability becomes a powerful force, one that influences every relationship, every opportunity, and every outcome. When you take responsibility, you activate your potential. You stop repeating the same patterns because you finally understand that change begins with your choices, not your circumstances. You start valuing your time differently, treating your habits with more seriousness, and approaching your goals with a level of determination that was not possible before. You rise above the mindset that waits for chances and step into the mindset that creates them. Responsibility sharpens your vision, strengthens your identity, builds a foundation for every achievement you will ever create. It becomes the invisible architecture of your success, the quiet power behind every action, and the inner voice reminding you that your future is not something you inherited, it is something you build. Chapter 2. Patience turns effort into achievement. Everything meaningful in life takes time. Growth takes time. Healing takes time. Building something worth keeping takes time. Patience is the quiet strength that keeps you steady when results are not visible. It transforms frustration into focus and prevents you from abandoning your journey right when success is about to appear. Strategic patience is one of the most powerful tools a human being can carry. Patience is not simply the act of waiting. It is the discipline of remaining calm, focused, and committed while life unfolds at a pace you cannot always control. It is one of the most powerful forces behind lasting achievement, yet it is also one of the most underrated. In a world that celebrates instant gratification, patience has become a rare strength. People want quick results, immediate recognition, and overnight transformation. But every meaningful success story, every story that endures was built on patience. Patience turns effort into mastery, struggle into wisdom, and delayed results into long-term breakthroughs. The moment you understand its real power, life stops feeling like a race and starts feeling like a process you can grow through. There is a quiet intelligence behind patience that many people overlook. When you are patient, you don't panic when progress slows down. You don't crumble when outcomes take longer than expected. You don't abandon your goals just because results aren't instantly visible. Instead, you learn to trust the work you have done. You learn to trust the direction you have chosen. You learn to trust the timing that is shaping you. Patience creates space for clarity. It prevents you from making desperate decisions born out of frustration. It allows you to think, adjust, and refine your approach instead of rushing into mistakes that could have been avoided. With patience, you see opportunities where others only see obstacles. People often misunderstand patience as inactivity, but true patience is highly active. It means doing your part, showing up every day, and then allowing the process to mature. Imagine planting a seed and digging it up every morning to check if it has grown. Most people treat their goals exactly like that. They keep interrupting their own progress by doubting their efforts. Patience teaches you to plant, water, nurture, and trust the natural rhythm of growth. Anything built too quickly often collapses just as fast. But the things that take time, the habits you build, the resilience you develop, the skills you strengthen, those things create a foundation that lasts. There comes a moment in every journey when progress becomes invisible. You cannot see improvement, you cannot measure movement, and you begin to question whether your efforts are even working. This is where most people quit. They walk away not because they are incapable, but because they cannot see the results forming beneath the surface. Patience becomes your anchor during this stretch. It keeps you steady when your emotions want to run. It keeps you working when your doubts want to stop. It keeps you committed when your mind begins whispering that nothing is changing. But real change often begins in silence, long before you notice it. Patience also protects your energy. When you learn not to force outcomes, you conserve your mental strength for things within your control. You stop comparing yourself to people who appear to be moving faster. You stop rushing into decisions motivated by pressure. You stop letting anxiety dictate your pace. Patience gives you the confidence to move with intention, not insecurity. It helps you recognize that your timeline is not supposed to look like anyone else's. Growth has no universal speed. Each person's journey unfolds at the pace that matches their purpose. There is also a deep sense of self-respect hidden inside patience. When you are patient with your goals, you show yourself that you believe in your future. You demonstrate trust in your own capabilities. You send a message to your mind that you are committed enough to stay the course. This builds inner strength, the kind that cannot be shaken by temporary delays or unexpected challenges. Patience becomes a quiet reminder that you are building something worth waiting for, something meaningful, something that requires time because it has depth, weight, and purpose. And while patience shapes your journey, it also shapes you. It strengthens your emotional stability. It increases your resilience. It sharpens your focus. It teaches you how to stay steady in moments of uncertainty. With patience, you grow from the inside out, becoming the kind of person who does not break when life slows down. You become someone who understands that progress is not always loud, transformation is not always visible, and success is not always immediate. Sometimes the most important growth happens quietly, beneath the surface, while patience keeps you moving forward. Chapter 3. Discipline separates winners from wishers. Motivation can start your journey, but discipline sustains it. The people who rise the highest are not the ones who feel motivated every day. They are the ones who stay committed even when motivation fades. Discipline builds habits. Habits shape identity, and identity shapes destiny. When discipline becomes part of who you are, Success stops being an event and becomes a lifestyle. Discipline is the silent engine behind every remarkable transformation, the steady force that keeps your life aligned when motivation fades and emotions fluctuate. Most people begin their journey with excitement, but excitement burns out quickly. Discipline is what carries you through the long, quiet stretches where progress feels slow and recognition is nowhere in sight. Discipline is not about punishment or pressure. It is about building the structure that supports your growth. It is the difference between wishing for a better life and working for one. When you embody discipline, you stop depending on mood and start depending on commitment. And that shift alone separates those who rise from those who remain stuck. There is something powerful about the moment you realize that discipline is not a personality trait, it is a choice. It is a decision you make each day, sometimes each hour, to do what needs to be done instead of what feels easy. Anyone can act when they feel inspired, but discipline belongs to those who follow through even when the excitement disappears. It is the quiet internal agreement you make with yourself, that your future matters more than your comfort, that your goals deserve consistency, and that your potential is too valuable to be left in the hands of temporary emotions. Once you adopt this mindset, distractions lose their grip on you. You stop giving in so easily. You stop stepping back so quickly. You become someone who shows up not occasionally, but consistently. Discipline also shapes your identity. Every time you keep a promise you made to yourself, you strengthen your self-respect. Every time you push through resistance, you reinforce your confidence. Every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you redefine what you believe you're capable of. Over time, these choices accumulate, and suddenly you begin to see yourself differently. You start to trust your own word. You start to feel capable of handling greater challenges. You start to believe in the version of you that you're working to become. Discipline doesn't just build outcomes, it builds the person who achieves them. Many people assume that disciplined individuals have more willpower than everyone else, but the truth is far simpler. Disciplined people do not rely on willpower, they rely on systems. They shape their environment, their routines, and their habits in a way that reduces friction and increases focus. They understand that success is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about doing the right things repeatedly. Discipline is consistency, and consistency is what compounds over time. A small step taken daily will outperform a giant step taken once. Discipline turns small efforts into significant progress. The kind that feels invisible at first but becomes undeniable later. There will always be days when you don't feel like working, learning, improving, or pushing forward. Life will test you with distractions, fatigue, stress, and doubt. Discipline becomes your anchor in these moments. It gives you something stronger than emotion to lean on. When frustration rises, discipline keeps you steady. When temptation appears, discipline keeps you aligned. When setbacks try to break your rhythm, discipline restores it. The world might not applaud your consistency, but your future will reflect it in ways more powerful than applause ever could. Discipline also protects your time. It teaches you the difference between what is urgent and what is important. It pushes you to prioritize what moves you forward instead of what simply keeps you busy. People who lack discipline lose hours, days, even years to distractions that never contribute to their growth. But disciplined individuals understand that time is the one resource that cannot be replaced. Every disciplined choice is an investment in your direction, your identity, and your future. Eventually, these investments accumulate into a life that reflects intention rather than chaos. Perhaps the most transformative aspect of discipline is the freedom it creates. At first, discipline feels like restriction, but over time, it becomes liberation. It frees you from the frustration of unfinished goals. It frees you from regret. It frees you from the instability that comes from living by impulse. When you are disciplined, your life gains structure, your mind gains clarity, and your heart gains confidence. You begin to experience the peace that comes from knowing you are living in alignment with your purpose. And that alignment becomes a source of power, silently shaping you into someone capable, stable, focused, and unstoppable in the pursuit of a better life. Chapter 4. Balance protects your mind, energy, and purpose. Ancient wisdom teaches that anything taken to extremes becomes harmful, even good things. Balance is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It allows you to work hard without burning out and rest without falling behind. Balance keeps your ambition sharp and your spirit grounded. It creates a life where progress and peace can exist. Balance is the quiet stabilizer that gives your life strength, clarity, and direction. It is the principle that prevents you from tipping too far into extreme, where ambition becomes exhaustion or relaxation becomes stagnation. In a world that constantly demands more productivity, more progress, more pressure, balance becomes the key to sustaining success without losing yourself. Many people chase growth so aggressively that they forget to breathe, and others rest so comfortably that they forget to rise. Balance is the art of knowing when to push, when to pause, when to give, and when to protect your own energy. It is not about doing everything at once, it is about doing what matters with intention and harmony. There is a specific calm that enters your life when you begin to value balance. You start recognizing the moments when your mind is overloaded, when your body is fatigued, when your emotions are signaling that something needs attention. Most people ignore these signals. They push themselves to extremes, hoping success will justify the exhaustion. But balance teaches you a powerful truth. Success achieved at the cost of your peace eventually feels like failure. You cannot build a strong life while your inner world is falling apart. When you are balanced, you think clearly, work wisely, and live purposefully. You bring your best self to each part of your life instead of giving fragments fueled by stress. Balance also elevates your productivity. When you know how to rest, you return stronger. When you take time to reflect, your decisions improve. When you allow yourself space to breathe, your creativity expands. The mind does not function at its best under continuous strain. It needs moments of stillness to process, recover, and refine your direction. People often mistake overworking for commitment, but true commitment includes protecting your ability to perform consistently, not just intensely. Balance is the strategy that keeps your momentum sustainable instead of short-lived. Your relationships also benefit when you cultivate balance. When you are constantly overwhelmed, you become distant, irritable, or emotionally unavailable. When you are too withdrawn, your relationships lack effort, attention, and presence. Balance allows you to give time to the people who matter without neglecting yourself. It teaches you to set boundaries that protect your well-being while still showing up for others with sincerity and care. You begin to understand that you cannot pour from an empty cup, and balance ensures that your cup stays full enough to share. There is also a profound sense of self-awareness that grows with balance. You learn to listen to yourself, not just your goals but your needs. You become more attuned to the moments when stress is rising or enthusiasm is fading. Instead of pushing blindly forward, you pause long enough to recalibrate. You gain the wisdom to know whether you're avoiding effort or genuinely needing rest. This awareness helps you navigate life with clarity instead of confusion. It prevents burnout before it takes hold and guides you away from complacency before it slows you down. Balance does not eliminate ambition. It enhances it. When your energy is managed properly, your goals become more achievable. When your mind is rested, your decisions become sharper. When your life is aligned, your motivation becomes more natural. Balance turns your journey into something you can maintain not just for weeks, but for years. It is the difference between a temporary sprint and a lifelong marathon you can actually finish. Modern life constantly tries to pull you in conflicting directions. Expectations from others, demands from your environment, pressure from your own desires. They all compete for space in your mind. Without balance, you get lost in the noise. But when you prioritize balance, you become anchored. You learn to slow down without giving up, to rest without quitting, to grow without destroying your inner peace. You begin to experience life not as a battlefield, but as a landscape you can navigate with strength, calm, and intention. As balance becomes part of your daily choices, you develop a quieter kind of strength. One that doesn't need chaos to feel productive or exhaustion to feel accomplished. You begin to appreciate moments of stillness, recognizing them as essential rather than optional. You start to notice that a balanced mind solves problems faster, a balanced body endures challenges longer, and a balanced spirit rises with more resilience. Balance doesn't just support your journey, it transforms the way you travel through life, allowing you to grow without breaking and succeed without losing yourself in the process altogether. Chapter 5. Gratitude shifts your life from scarcity to strength. Gratitude is a powerful lens that changes the way you see the world. When you appreciate what you already have, you gain the strength to pursue what you don't. Gratitude opens the heart, sharpens the mind, and brings stability in moments of chaos. It turns ordinary days into blessings and challenges into opportunities. Gratitude is more than a simple feeling. It is a transformative practice that reshapes the way you experience life. It has the